Hello and welcome to episode 129 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is February 7th, 2022. Today I'm wearing my new Rio Calina Cowl. So that was one of the last knit-alongs that we did. I knit this cowl out, from a pattern by Cat Body. It's a free pattern. I filmed 2 tutorials to show how to knit this cowl. One of them is out in English. The other hasn't been translated yet. I'm working on that. Hope to get that done really soon. I use the machine washable baby alpaca yarn by Hansa Farm. I used 3 of their DK weight 50-gram balls of yarn to knit this. First it's like a little scarf, and then you seam one seam along here. So this is where I sew the beginning and the end together, and then it's supposed to overlap like this so that you can see both sides of the cowl. So the pattern is written in a way that the cables look differently on the front and the back. And by wearing it like this, you can actually see both sides, so it's worth knitting a different front and back. When I was sewing this together, I was concentrating on the video a lot to make sure that I'm in focus and everything. And so I didn't really measure properly where to put the seam. So it's fairly wide now, which is okay. There are occasions where I want a wider cowl with a bit more air, but I think if I were to knit this again, I would probably seam it so it's a bit tighter, then it would overlap a little more, but it's not a problem. I still like it like this. What I could also do is pull it apart like this a little bit, and then the 2 ends would hang like this. You'd still be able to see both sides, but it would lay around the neck a bit, or more on the shoulders than round the neck. So there's many ways of wearing this. I could pull it to the side a little bit, and then it depends on how much I fold it over on this edge, and I could have one of the ends hanging to the front and one to the back. So there's many ways to wear this and to style this. If I put on a jacket, I could put both ends to the back and just have this little bit to the front, and I could have a really nice upper back, nice and warm upper back. My back won't get nicer through the cowl. Anyway, so that's the Rio Calina cowl. I really like it. The yarn is incredibly soft. The pattern was really nice to knit. And yeah, I'm happy it's finished and I can wear it. And the pullover I'm wearing today is the Calibrate sweater. It's one of the most interesting patterns I ever knit. It's fairly long. It has a split hem. Both the ribbings are rounded. The back is longer than the front. And it's a really fitted pullover. And that's what makes this pattern so special, is you don't just get a pattern where you're told what to do, but you get a form, like an Excel table or something, and then you can put your own measurements in, and then you get your personal instructions for your pullover that is going to exactly fit your body. And that's quite a new idea, I think. I think it's the first time I ever saw something like that when I tested that pullover. And the funny thing was, for the front, for my body, for front and back, I'm quite used to measure myself, and I knew to put in a bit of, so to make the measurements a bit bigger so the pullover would have a bit of ease. But I'm not really used to measuring my arms, so that was something new. And I think I exactly measured my arms the way they are, so the pullover came out exactly fitting, which is okay if I wear it like this, but I usually like to wear something underneath my pullovers, like a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt or something. And I can do that because it's knitting, it's flexible, I can still wear something underneath. But if I knit the pattern again, which I really want to do, then I would just put a bit of ease in the measurements of my arms so they would come out a little bit wider. Yeah, but it's as I said, it's a fantastic pullover. You can make sure it really fits you. You get all the decreases and increases that your body needs. And yeah, it's really worth looking at. It's linked in on my project page on Ravelry, and my project page is linked underneath the video. So there you can find the Calibrate sweater. Yeah, so that's what I'm wearing today. Then on to finished objects, and for the finished objects, I have something that I knit back in December, and I just completely forgot to show it. It's not a big project, and I think I knit it in one afternoon, and but I'll show it to you now. It's a project I have to turn on, which sounds funny, doesn't it? But I knit this. And this is what it is. I'll turn it off for a moment. It's, I think I should know what the English word for these lights is. Is it fairy lights? I don't know. But it's basically this metal something, and there are tiny lights, LEDs worked into it. So with most of the lights for Christmas, at least in Germany, you get those little lamps sticking off the line, and then you can't knit it. It's nice for decoration, but you can't knit with it. So I was looking for something that had the LEDs worked into the cord or the cable or whatever, so that I could knit with it. I used these 20mm needles that I mainly have for decoration, but I saw a project like that not this winter, but last winter on Instagram, and I wanted to do that a year ago, but I just couldn't find any of these lights, and I had to go to several shops this last December to get this, and I don't know if we bought it in December. Maybe we even bought it in November. I just never got round to knitting this, so I think it was after Christmas that I finally sat down one afternoon and just cast on some stitches and tried to knit this. At first, I thought I had cast on too many stitches and that this would be a tiny little bit. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the size that I got. I'll just turn it on once more because I like it so much. And I just, I haven't found the perfect space for it yet. I just put it somewhere where it could stick the needles in so that it would stay in place. But I really love the way the light comes off this, and it just brightens up my shop a little bit. And it's so funny to be able to knit lights. And this year I saw a lot of projects on Instagram. Didn't really see them on Ravelry, but maybe I haven't just looked in the right place yet. But on Instagram I kept seeing these things, and people would knit different patterns really. So not just a square, but I saw a triangle. I even saw a star, which I think is amazing. And I don't know if they were all knitted or maybe somebody crocheted with that. So maybe that's something I might try next year. I don't know. But it's fascinating. I love light. And yeah, so I just wanted to show you because I completely forgot to do that back in December. The other finished object I have are the Zakkuri Remix socks. This is a pattern by a Japanese designer, by Yuka, and I test knit the pattern in a different yarn with a different version of cable. With the other socks, I knit one cable on each side of a sock up one side. But with this version, you have no cables on the foot, but you have cables all around the leg. And yeah, really happy with that. I used alpaca sock yarn by Hansa Farm. It's their old version. I used that held double. And yeah, really happy with these socks. Can't wait to wear them. That's all the finished objects I have today. There's one finished object, but 3 new cast-ons today. But one of the cast-ons isn't a proper cast-on. I'll explain that later. Okay, on to works in progress. I have 2 pairs of socks on the needles, and one of them are the Hong Kong socks by Mina Phillip from her ebook Around the World in 8 Socks. I'm knitting the Opal subscription, Opal Abo yarn for the pattern battle where everybody is using the same color, but everybody has to use a different pattern. And now you can see, I think last week I was saying that I started at almost the same spot in the yarn. So usually my socks come out really differently as to the stripes, but these are going to be almost the same. It's just, I think, like 2 rounds offset. And yeah, I managed to knit half the leg and still enjoy these. I'm going to donate them to the organization who help women with ovarian cancer. So that's a really good cause, I think, to support. So that's what I'm knitting these for. And then the other sock I'm knitting is one of the new cast-ons. And I cast on the 24 Days Socks by Emma Potter from the Potter and Bloom podcast. And on Ravelry, she's also called Potter and Bloom. She has quite a few designs out already. And she designed these socks to be knit with with an advent calendar, yarn advent calendar. So if you have 24 different colors of yarn, that'd be perfect to knit these socks. You can choose a main color and then use all your different colors. Right now, I don't have an advent calendar with 24 different colors, so I decided, as usual, to use my Opal yarn, and I'm going to use leftover yarns. And that's another thing that you can do with these socks. I mean, you can just do one contrast color and one main color, or you can do leftover yarns, or you can mix and match whatever you like. So I decided I was going to use this color. This is a really big leftover ball of yarn. But anyway, and then I decided to use this. And then I picked this one. And then this. And then the blue with a bit of green, so that brings me back to the green. And I decided to use all those colors one after the other and then start at the beginning again so that I would get a really colorful sock. As a main color, I chose black. I was debating white or black or maybe light gray, but then in contrast with these colors, I just preferred the black. And I'm using the black alpaca sock yarn by Hansa Farm, but that's their new sock yarn. So these balls don't weigh 50 grams like most sock yarns, but 56 grams, because the alpaca is just slightly heavier than sheep wool or sheep yarn. And they wanted the sock yarn to have the same yardage and the same gauge as the sheep sock yarn. So that's why this weighs 56 grams. And because they said you're supposed to be able to combine the alpaca sock yarn and the sheep sock yarn, I wanted to test that. And so this is my main color, and the opal yarn, which is of course from sheep, not from alpacas, are the contrast colors. And this is what my sock looks like at the moment. So I knit those 5 colors twice, with the black in between and with the slight slip stitch detail, which I think is very beautiful. Yeah, and in a way I really like that. I really enjoyed that. But on the other hand, I think this just looks like one colorful opal yarn. So I'm not really sure it's worth using all these different balls of yarns and having all the ends to weave in, which, by the way, I worked in as I went, so I don't have to sew them in. I just wove them in the way she explains in her, either in the pattern or in a video, I don't remember right now. So I will finish this sock the way I started, using those 5 different color ways of opal, but I'm really thinking about using one of the more colorful yarns, probably either this one or this one, and just use one of them. I will probably use this one because those stripes are fairly small and there's lots of colors in this. They're not maybe more colors, but because the stripes are smaller on this one, it'll come out more like different balls of yarns than in this color, because those stripes are a lot wider at times. So there'd be quite a big like red stripe on the sock if I use this one. That's what I'm thinking about. I think the socks would look different then, but you could still tell they belong together because they'd have the same main color and the same pattern. But that could just make the whole process a lot easier, and especially I wouldn't have to carry around so much yarn with me while I'm knitting on that sock. Yeah, the alpaca sock yarn is so soft. It's incredible. Can't wait to finish and wear these socks. A big thank you to Emma for giving that pattern to me as a gift. That was really kind of you, and I really enjoy knitting on these. And yeah, recommend this pattern to all of you. So that's the second sock I have on the needles. I have signed up for the Sock Madness this year. I received my the email that told me that the application went through. The confirmation email, I think is what it's called. And I downloaded the first warm-up pattern, but decided against knitting it at the moment because I can't think of the right colors I would want to knit that sock in. It's a color work pattern. It's really nice, but I just, couldn't think of the right colors. And then instead I looked at the warm-up patterns from last year. Last year there were 3 different, or rather 4 different patterns during the warm-up period. And one of the patterns I already knit, the others I haven't knit yet. And I showed them to my sister, and she loves shorty socks. And one of the patterns she was really fond of, and I decided to knit those socks for her. Again, out of the alpaca sock yarn. And so that I have a pair of socks just made with that yarn to see what it looks like, what it feels like, and then when my sister wears them, I can see how well they wear. Yeah, so that's everything sock related for today. The next project I'm going to show you is the Quadracowl that's a pattern by Martina Behm for another cowl with a really interesting construction. And I started it off with this color by Opal, which is one of the subscription, the Opal Abo colors. And while I was knitting this, I thought these are such nice and bright colors. And I still think they're nice. But now that I started the other ball of yarn, they don't look that bright anymore. Because this is what a bright color is, isn't it? It's amazing. I still think they look nice together. I didn't feel there was such a big contrast when I just held the skeins of yarn next to each other. Now that I'm knitting it, this feels so much darker and brighter. It's amazing. So this is the Wolldackel Anivaniva Royal color. So it's their rainbow color with blue. It was part of the advent calendar I had last advent. And now you can kind of see the maneuver I had to do to get to the second part of the cowl. So the first part of the cowl, you just knit a big square, but then you do this really weird maneuver that she describes in her pattern, and she has a really good video going alongside the pattern so that you know how to work this out. But what you can see now is that this is the way the cowl is going to look when it's done. So like this would be either the top or the bottom. This is the circumference, and then this is the height, and then this part I'm knitting now, but I'm knitting it in the round, and I'm knitting a double layer. It's really confusing, but it's really fascinating, and I can't wait to finish it and to wear it. So this is one of the ways you can wear it later, where you have 2 corners of one color and 2 corners of the other color showing. The other spot would be here, where you can do the same, but you have the other 2 corners of each color. The holes I'm going to sew shut before I'm too far gone, before this square is going to close up. And then of course you can wear it so that one of your colors shows or the other color shows, and yeah, it's it's just fascinating and a real genius of a pattern. And yeah, can't wait to get this done. So that's that. Then on to pullovers and cardigans. I'll start with the rainbow cardi again. And this kind of seems like a never-ending skein of yarn. I have knit quite a bit on this jacket in the last week because I really, really, really want to get this done. I've almost reached my waist line and I still have 9 grams of yarn. So I did knit more than 10 grams of that yarn during the last week. It's grown quite a bit, but basically it still looks the same. But that's okay. So this week I do want to finish those 9 grams and then I can finally start one of the sleeves. With the next pullover, or with the first pullover, that's the Raglano. I am a bit further on than with the cardi. I finished my first sleeve. Looks really small, but that's because of the ribbing. I will probably block the sleeves a little bit, just to get them a bit wider than this. I did 2 sets of, I decreased 16 stitches, so not just the 8, but 16. And then once I finished the decreases, which was probably here, I just knit a little bit more. I did knit them a little too long, but it depends. If I block it width-wise, they get a bit shorter, so they might be the correct length. I don't know yet, but I did not knit the thumb hole. So I keep thinking about doing that, but then I never do because I'm always a bit worried that I might not like to have a hole there. So yeah, I just didn't. So I finished the sleeve. I started the second sleeve. Haven't done a lot on that, but I started it, and the first quite a bit of the sleeve is just straight knitting straight until I get to the decrease. I think this bit of the sleeve I knit straight, so for quite a while now I can just knit down. I took the long cable out so I don't have so much stuff hanging around here, because now I don't have to try it on. I just knit the second sleeve to be the same as the first. That's what you do. So, oops, sorry about that. Don't have to do a lot of thinking about that. I can just keep going. And then the next pullover is the Pappus pullover. And that's the one I'm knitting out of Noro lace yarn, out double with a Mohair silk by Hansa Farm. And it's that interesting skein or ball of yarn. As you can see, there are other colors on the outside, again different from last week. This time it's the beige and the gray and the brown, some black, and then the teal just starts showing there. And it's actually getting smaller. And I actually finished the sleeves on this pullover. With this pullover, you start at the back, you knit the upper back and the back side of the sleeves. Then I did the neckline. Then you knit down the upper front and the upper half of the sleeves. And then both sleeves get finished at the same time. That is, you knit together one of the sleeves, then you knit across, and then you knit together the other sleeve. And then by undoing the provisional cast on, you can knit in the round. The back and front are just knit down straight. You could probably add waist shaping if you wanted, but it's a rather boxy style sweater, so I don't think it makes sense to have waist shaping in there. So yeah, all you do now is, or all I do now is knit down. The pattern gives you a size, how many centimeters you can knit, and then you add some ribbing, and then you're done. I will probably not stick to the pattern for that because it's a fairly short pullover in the pattern, and I know I want it a bit longer. I did the sleeves a bit longer than the pattern calls for. They are 3/4 sleeve, 3/4 length sleeve. In the pattern, they are either above the elbow or below the elbow, and I did them a bit longer. I'm really happy with the length. Yeah, and now I'll just knit down and I'll just keep trying it on to see what length I want. And then at some point I'll add some sort of ribbing so it doesn't roll, and then the pullover will be done. I'm really happy with the red stripe that's going across both the front and the back. Yeah, I just still love the way the yarn feels because of the loose knitting. It's so soft and it's really light. This is just 100 grams, and the silk mohair are 25-gram balls, and I used one full one, and then I had 2 balls of yarns that were already started. I've got to weigh them, but so once I finish this, it's less than 75 grams. If I use another one, maybe I'll use another 100 grams of mohair silk yarn, then the whole pullover will be less than 200 grams, depending on how long I knit it, how much of the yarn I use up. But it's yeah, lovely. I'm looking forward to wearing this a lot. Yeah, and then I told you last week that I won't start the pullover made out of the Westfalen Wolle because I didn't want to start another jumper or pullover or cardigan or something until I had finished one of the other 3. And what did I do? I started another garment, but not out of Westfalen Wolle. I'm doing something completely different. And what I started knitting is the mealy vest. It's a pattern on Ravelry that a friend of mine and I got because she wanted to knit a vest, and I really liked the garment she was knitting, and I said, well, I want to have one for myself as well. And also I wanted to use the brushed alpaca by Hansa Farm again. And also I wanted to see what this yarn looks like if it was held together with some sock yarn. So I picked this color by Opal. It's out of their 25th anniversary series, and I'm using this gray brushed alpaca by Hansa Farm. I'm holding them together, and this is what I have knit so far. So the vest starts at the upper back. You knit the upper back, you do some increases for the armhole, then you pick up stitches, knit the fronts, do the same armhole shaping, and once you're done that, you can put all the stitches on a needle and you knit the front and back down for as long as you like. And then you pick up stitches for the armhole ribbing and for the big collar and then for the button band. And so I just cast on the stitches that the pattern called for using a 5mm needle, and it kind of looks okay, but I thought it was rather tight. So I decided to change the needle, and I'm now using a 5.5mm needle, but I just did not undo the beginning. I thought if the upper bit of the vest is a bit tighter than the rest, it doesn't matter. It won't interfere with the sizing or anything. It will still fit, and it won't look too bad. I think once it's washed, you probably won't be able to tell the difference. It's just one needle size difference. So yeah, quite happy with that. I now that it's a bit looser, I really love the way it feels. It's soft up here too, and for a hat or something I might knit like this, but for a vest, for a garment, I want it to be a bit looser, a bit more cuddly, and that's what I did. And because I ordered some more colors of their brushed alpaca, I just quickly wanted to show you the colors that are available. I don't think I have all of them, but now I think I have most of the colors that are available. So there's this purple, beautiful pink, and this light pink. Then I think last time I showed you the yarn, I already showed you the red and the white. And then there's this beautiful green, which makes a perfect Christmas color combo. This is the Deep Ocean colorway that I have already used to knit a pair of mitts. Then there's this rose color, don't know what you call that. And then this beautiful light blue, which is, this is the color that my sister, no, it's not the color. I think my sister's using this color to knit her Wolkig. Then there's a dark blue, which I love. and then there's a dark grey and a black. And they are just, did I show you the yellow? There's a yellow. It's such a soft and beautiful yarn, and of course it's not quite as thin as a mohair silk yarn would be, but it is fairly thin. It's nice and fuzzy. It's so soft, and for people who can't or won't knit mohair or who can't wear mohair, this is a beautiful alternative. So just to let you know. So that's the mealy vest that I cast on, that I'm looking forward to continuing. And oh, by the way, I will probably change the alpaca color for the for all the ribbings. I will probably do all the ribbing with a black alpaca brushed, but the same opal yarn. So just to see how the colors come out differently, and just to have a bit more happening in the garment. Yeah, so that's that. And then I will come to the, just a moment. Then I'll come to my crochet projects. I have two on the, well, not really. Well, I'll start with the one that I showed you last week. Last week I showed you the, what's the pattern called? Can't remember. Check it on my Ravelry page. And I want to crochet just a little, like a mini blanket that I want to put on my stovetop in the kitchen. And so this is the colorway that I went for, and this is the other way you can crochet the pattern. So you can either start with the dark, go to the light, and then back to the dark, or the other way round. And I still love the arietes, no idea how you pronounce it in English, but it's such a beautiful crochet pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I so enjoy crocheting it. And I've already done a third one. And I blocked this one. I didn't block this one. Wanted to show you the difference. And there's hardly a difference. I think the main difference is that the sides are a bit straighter. And if unblocked, they are a bit more rounded. But otherwise, there isn't a lot of difference between the blocked and unblocked one. Yeah. But yeah, it's a beautiful pattern. Last week, I was wondering whether I should stick to this color palette or add some more colors, and I've tried a lot of color combinations by just putting the yarns out, but right now I think I will probably stick to this color palette because they're just so beautiful together and I just love them. One of my customers suggested I could change the order that I crochet the colors, but I'm not sure if it makes sense to have more contrast between the stripes. I think the way the colors sort of blend one into another is what makes it so beautiful. But then I'm curious, I might just try to mix up the colors just for fun, just to see what it looks like. And then I crocheted a gauge swatch, and I don't always show my swatches on the video because sometimes I just try something and I never do anything with it. Sometimes I actually cast something on and I'd rather show you the cast on than the gauge swatch. But the reason I'm showing you this is because it's a new technique. It's a new to me technique. And I've got to write down what it's called. It's interlocking something. So what you do is you crochet with two different colors. You always crochet one color at a time. And each of these colors sort of creates a mesh, but by sort of interlocking these two meshes together, this is how you get the fabric and how you get the pattern. And I thought that was really interesting. This is a free pattern for this little coaster, and there are videos to show you how to do this, and it's really fascinating. And what I want to do is crochet a blanket. I'll tell you more about the blanket once I've started it, but I just wanted to show you that I tried doing that and it worked. And to practice a little more, I cast on a dishcloth. And I still have this project that I want to do more dishcloths for myself. And I went for one of her other patterns, but I completely messed it up. My fault, not the pattern's fault. But I just thought I'll continue with crocheting this because it doesn't have to look the way the pattern looks. It just needs to become a dishcloth. So that's fine. I'm using those two colors. This is what the back looks like. And so with the beginning, I tried to follow the pattern. And there are some some places where the two different layers are less interlocked, so you can kind of see that there are two layers, and both of them have sort of lots of holes, but because they lie on top of each other, the whole thing itself doesn't seem to have holes. And so after a while I stopped following the pattern and I just did my own thing, going back and forth, and still enjoyed that. I will finish that just so I have one more dishcloth and I can practice this way of crocheting a little more, and then I will probably start the blanket at some point. So that's all the crochet. Then on to the knit along. And I am still knitting my Wolkig by Martina Babe. And even though it is slowly growing, this is another one of those magic yarn balls that never, never, ever finish. I think last week I told you it was 30 grams. It's now 27 grams. So I managed to knit 3 more grams. I still have more than half the yarn, which is crazy, but I still love the fabric I'm creating. Can't wait to wear this. It sort of goes with everything I own, I think. And yeah, it's a pure oh, what's it called? It's the little, is it bunnies or okay, you check on my Ravelry page what the material is. It's just something that I love, and it's very lightweight, and it's hand dyed in Germany. It's a family who own their own animals and that are well treated, and it's Angora. If I talk long enough, I'll remember the words. So this is a pure Angora cowl, and I love it. Love knitting it. Okay, that was everything I wanted to show you this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.